Liquor Talk, a brand new episode starts now. Welcome everybody to another edition of the Liquor Talk podcast. I'm your man Victor, and guess what? Now, for the first 200 something episodes, we haven't had international guests. Now, in back-to-back weeks, we've had international guests. First, my guest was in Canada not Canada, but the United Kingdom last week. Now, podcasting, this week's guest, podcasting out of Toronto.
Yes.
She's the host of the Pum Pum Chronicles podcast. It's Miss AJ. How you doing today?
I am doing fabulous. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you having me as a guest on your platform.
Yes, I appreciate you for coming through on the platform. And so you told me you represent Canada and Jamaica?
Yes. So I'm originally from Jamaica. That's where I was born. And then I grew up in Canada. And then I've recently migrated to the States. So I'm kind of like back and forth between all three. So this week I'm in Canada. Next week I'll be back in Virginia. And then the week after that, I'm headed to Jamaica. So
how do you do it? I said, how do you do that? That's amazing. You all over the place. I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah. You know what? I told myself that this year, come hell or high water, that I wasn't staying indoors anymore and I wasn't going to stay locked up. And I wasn't going to succumb to the COVID paranoia. I was going to, make sure that I'm safe and take the necessary precautions. But yeah, 2 years of not traveling, like 2 years of sitting still. No, that was enough for me. I'm good.
I feel you on that. I feel you on that. Although I'm in Florida, I want to travel too. I'm like, my goodness, it's like.
But you're near a beach, so like if I was near a beach, it wouldn't even be that bad. But yeah,
yeah, I know it's near a beach, but of course we got the problem of tourists coming down here. You know what I'm saying? Driving up the price of everything. Yes. Can you believe gas prices almost $4? I'm like, God damn.
It's I filled up so I drive an SUV and I filled up a couple of days ago and I was determined not to go anywhere because I was like, I don't want to drive because then I have to put more gas, but it was about $125 to fill up.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it hurt. It
hurt.
It really did. And I was thinking, you know what I could do with $125? Like, what happened to filling up the tank for like 65, 70, 125? Like, it's out of control. It's out of control.
Yes, it's out of control. I'm like, my goodness. I'm like, and I feel bad for people who have SUVs because I looked at SUVs. I'm like, oh, hell no.
Don't do it.
These things take too much gas. I need a hybrid SUV. I don't know if anybody going to make them yet, but I need one I can just plug the motherfucker in and just go.
Absolutely. Yeah, like this thing, Tesla's looking like a good company right now. Tesla's definitely looking like their stocks are about to go through the roof if the gas prices keep going up. The electric cars are definitely the wave of the future because this is crazy. Absolutely crazy.
It is absolutely crazy. Well, let's talk a little bit about your podcast. Tell me about the Pum Pum Chronicles podcast.
So I gotta teach you how to say it. Pum. Say pum.
Pum.
Pum pum.
Pum pum.
Yes, right. Just like that. Pum pum. The Pum Pum Chronicles. Because you can't talk to a woman and talk about like how her front is really, because pum pum refers to the vagina, of course. That's a Jamaican term for vagina, but you have to say it properly. So when you're talking to a woman and you're telling like she has a pretty pum pum, you have to say it, you gotta say it the right way. So pum pum. Yes.
I got you.
So I drop weekly episodes, a lot of different guests from different walks of life, some professional, some not professional. We talk primarily about sex, intimacy. There's some conversations centered around relationship dynamics, but just a lot of positivity around sex and sex culture. And debunking some of the taboos and myths that people have about sex and intimacy. And just kind of trying to help people be more comfortable in discussing sex, sexuality, and intimacy.
That's real. Confession about myself. It took me to have a podcast to finally be comfortable about talking about sex and all that stuff. It's like,
really?
Yeah, because I was kind of shy about it. But then after I did a couple of podcasts with people, I was like, you know what? Hey, this ain't so bad. And plus, the more you know, you have to know it. So
absolutely.
You gotta talk about it, before it goes down, and you looking stupid,
Yes. But it's good to stay informed. It's good to get different perspectives. And there's a wealth of information. I think that a lot of people just kind of view sex as being just a very basic, but there's so much that we don't talk about, especially like if the sex isn't good. We don't not necessarily complain, but there's no debriefing, there's no dialogue about what your needs are, what your desires are, what works for you, what doesn't work for you. Just even in terms of like kinks, fetishes. Like there's so much to explore in the world of sex, other than just, I don't know if I can I cuss, am I allowed to
You
swear?
just,
Okay, so
yeah,
there's so much more to explore other than just fucking. Like there's a lot more to sex and intimacy other than just the do itself. I think people have this misconception that sex is supposed to be pornographic in a way, or it's supposed to be like the stuff that you see in movies, and really and truly it isn't. There's so much that happens that people never talk about. And it's great that you have a platform now where you yourself have found comfort in discussing those things.
yes, yes. You know what? No, I think the reason people don't talk about those things, I think is, do you really like the person, or is this just a one night stand?
True.
Whether
It's
it's,
true.
this is just because I really feel like if you like this person, you're gonna have those conversations and you're gonna go the extra mile to make it right. And
Absolutely.
also, to be honest, there are some people that if you have bad sex, you ain't trying to talk to them ever again.
True.
I mean,
True. But what if you have bad sex with somebody that you actually like? Like, do you just let the sex continue to be bad because you don't want to hurt their feelings? Or do you sit down and say, hey, this is something that we need to talk about? I think because people are so afraid of judgment themselves, or the fear of hearing that they haven't done something well, it also stops the conversation. But the truth of the matter is, no matter how great we are at sex, we can always be better. And the sex that I have with you may not be like the sex that I had with my ex. Do you know what I mean? It's like thinking that
exactly.
one way that you please a person is going to go across the board in everyone that you ever meet in life and everyone that you ever please, right? The way that I suck your dick may not be the way that you like it. And I may think, well, I'm fabulous because the last man that I was with for, 4 or 5 years, he told me I was the greatest dick sucker on the planet. I meet you now, VJ, and VJ, you're like, that doesn't work for me. Like, what are you doing? I don't like that. Like, ease up, go hard. You know what I mean? So it's like, there's always something to be learned because everybody's body is different. There are some basic things that kind of run across the board, person to person. But at the end of the day, everyone's version of pleasure is different.
Yes, that is so true. Like I said, because I remember one time I was able to get a girl off from just playing with it, and then I tried that on somebody else. They like,
She's like, what are you
okay.
doing?
I'm like, damn. I'm like, damn. I'm like, damn. The
Right.
last girl, she was crying. She was crying her eyeballs out, shaking. Your ass just laying here like a damn statue.
Yeah,
So
waiting for you to
I'm
hurry up and
learning that
finish.
you need to have those conversations.
Definitely. Absolutely. And the thing is, I mean, I think that people should be more open to receiving constructive feedback, and they shouldn't take it as necessarily a knock. You know what I mean? It's like you have to love people the way that they want to be loved, and you have to have intimacy with people the way they want to receive intimacy, not just the way that you want to give it. And the only way to learn how to please a person properly is by having those conversations with them and taking your ego and your feelings out of the discussion.
Yes, that's real. So now, from a man's perspective, how do we ease into the conversations? Because we keep hearing from a lot of women that if we bring it up, it's like, oh my God, you're just thinking about sex. Oh my God, I don't want to talk to you. I'm like, damn. How do you have those conversations?
Yeah, it's that's a hard one because a lot of it is maturity and the person being receptive to the dialogue. I think if you start with them to, start off by saying to them, like, babe, like, I want us to have great sex. I want to make sure that I'm pleasing you properly. I want to make sure that you're satisfied, and I also want to be pleased properly and be pleased satisfied. It's not to say that we're having bad sex, but I think that we could have even better sex. I think that that's a good way of starting off the conversation, by letting the person know that what you're interested is not necessarily having sex with them all the time, but having the best sex with that person that you possibly can, and expanding the boundaries of your intimacy. And like, again, it shouldn't just be about like, putting it in, whap, 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 and then you're done. Babe, did you come? Like, that should never be the discussion, right? It should be like, what can I do better? How can I please you more? do these things work for you? Is there something else that you need? Like, it's just kind of trying to find out from the person what is better for them, but make them the focus so that they don't feel like what you're thinking about is just fucking them. What you're actually interested in is their pleasure on a whole.
Yes, yes, we need to get more of that. That's so real. And now, what do you say to the ladies who are out there who just don't want to take a buddy or make it so the man gotta do all the work?
Ladies, get your shit together. Like, you have to
Hello.
actively participating. Starfishing ended in the 1990s. Actively participate. There's no more just laying there and taking dick. There's no more just two positions. Like, you need to be actively engaged. The worst thing that could happen is that you think that you're having great sex with your partner, and they're not having great sex with you. They're just doing it as a chore and doing it to get it over and done with. Get into it. There's so many tools on the market. There are so many courses available. There's so much information out there to assist people in having better intimate lives. Take the shame, stigma, and embarrassment out of it. Use the tools and resources that you have available to you. Women, and maybe it's a terrible, tragic thing to say, but if you don't actively engage your partner, somebody else will. Why leave that door? But it's true. Why leave that door open for somebody else to come in? I hear women complaining about like giving their man head. They don't want to do that. And if that's something that he enjoys, why would you not want to give that type of pleasure to your partner? You expect it in return. So why would you not want to reciprocate that? Because I guarantee the ratio of women to men now, let's say it's 9-1. If you don't do it, there is a woman out there who will willingly, all the time, without question, without begging, without asking. You know what I mean? Like, she will say like, oh, that's my man. I'm going to make him happy. Like, I know he's had a hard day. Let me go suck his dick. Let me give him some pussy. Let me give him a massage, run a shower for him and make a sandwich and just let him chill. You know what I mean? So it's like the things that you feel like you don't have to do or you're not willing to do, I promise you somebody else will.
Yes. And that goes for both sides too, because
Absolutely.
I know some men that I know DJ Khaled. His ass probably said he said I don't even need to go down on my woman. I'm like, what
I
the
don't
fuck
believe
is
him.
wrong with you?
I don't believe him. I honestly don't believe him. You know why I say that? Because no, really and truly, I feel like, okay, so like I know in Jamaican culture, you have a lot of men who say they don't eat pum pum. They don't eat pussy. Lies. I know from personal experience, lies. In my own life, in my own personal experience, I know women who have talked to men and the man has said to them they don't do that. And I know for a fact that they do. They just don't want to do it with particular women. I don't believe that DJ Khaled is out here letting his wife be unsatisfied by not licking her pum pum. I refuse to believe it. I think he just does it for the grandstanding because he associates and affiliates himself with Jamaica quite regularly and the Jamaican culture, and they feel like that's a taboo thing, and Jamaicans don't eat pum pum. He's a liar. He's an absolute liar.
So staying with Jamaican culture, why is that such a taboo thing? Why is that such a bad thing? I mean, I got the beard. I don't mind letting a woman sit on my face. You know what I'm saying? So I know if I'm thinking that, why is
Yes.
that such a bad thing in Jamaica?
Honestly, I really don't know because it's not even like it's a question that you can ask the elders, but it definitely is something that is associated with a woman being unclean because that's where we bleed from, that's where we give birth from. And so when you think of it just in theological terms, in religious terms, sex is meant for procreation. There isn't pleasure necessarily attached to it. And because that's something that's been taught historically for years, that sex is for procreation, sex is not meant for pleasure, sex is for procreation, no one ever thinks to say to themselves that, well, yeah, pleasure is actually an aspect of it or part of it. As the culture is shifting now, I would say maybe like the last 10 years or so, the generations that are coming up are far more open-minded because they're more exposed to things. And even some of the older generation, they've done away with that old way of thinking. And so they're coming more around to the idea of pleasure on a whole, but you still can't ask them directly if they suck dick or eat pum pum. They'll just do it very quietly. The younger generation, oh, they're out there lawless. They don't care. They don't give a fuck.
Yes, well, our generation, we just don't give a fuck. We just
No, they don't even care. They're about pleasure, they're about gratification, they're about happiness, they're about self-care, self-love, and indulgence. But I think truthfully, like a lot of the taboos around sex and intimacy in Jamaica, it stems from like religious culture. It stems from biblical culture. I think, if I'm not mistaken, our island has more churches per capita than any other island or country in the world.
wow.
Yeah.
That sometimes hearing that it just don't make sense because of the stranglehold the church has on the community. Like if we could just
Absolutely.
teach our people financial literacy and how to
Mhm.
make money out here, that's what we need to learn and stuff. It's
Yeah.
like, I mean, the church is okay, but what is the church doing? Just sitting there, just
Taking people's money.
that's all
And
it is.
that's it. The good that they're
Taking
supposed
people.
to be doing for the community, And the funny thing is, I mean, it's like, you'll hear stories about pastors who are, having indiscretions with members of the congregation. And you think to yourself, like, are you not the same one who's preaching, you know,
See, and
how? Like,
honestly,
those two things don't add up. Like the math is not mathing.
exactly, and which is why I have to, before joining church, you gotta look at preachers some type of way, like, because I remember a story of a church I went to in Tallahassee when I was in college. Years later, I done left, and then I hear a story that the pastor got caught messing around with the member. He's running around butt naked in the city because the member's husband got home and took his clothes. I'm like,
Ooh.
are you serious?
Yeah.
Now, this church was in Tallahassee. We hearing about it in Tampa. I'm like,
Yeah.
the gospel people talking about it, and then they say he was in the pulpit the very next Sunday, like nothing happened. I'm like,
that type of hypocrisy, like, and that's why I say, like, if you're preaching anything, talk about safe sexual practices, talk about, sexual health, talk about, the upside of intimacy, because at the end of the day, we're all sexual creatures. We were all created the same way. Like someone fucked in order for us to get here. As crass as that
basically,
sounds, it just is what it is. Someone slept with someone and they got pregnant, and a child was. We were all birthed and born the same way, or all created the same way. So it's like, the hypocrisy of trying to make people think that sex is such a terrible thing. Meanwhile, you're running behind the church members and lifting up skirts and having private meetings. Come on. Like, yeah, it's very hypocritical.
yeah. And honestly, that's why sometimes you just don't trust the church. It's like, say you want to pray, meditate, you don't need a damn church for that. You just do that on your own.
Yes.
But ladies and gentlemen, this is Liquor Talk. The more you drink, the better we sound. So go ahead and pull up that liquor for this episode. I
I
know
got
we didn't hit
water.
you with the first. We didn't hit you with the first 15 minutes. We didn't hit you with some crazy shit. Just keep on listening, y'all. So, is it on your Canadian side? Is
Yes.
there still a lot of sexual roots, or like, is there a little bit more laid back in Canada?
Oh, they're absolutely all the way laid back. They're very supportive. Like, we have a lot of services for young people. If they need condoms, they can go, get free condoms. Sexual health practitioners that they can talk to. Clinics. Like our healthcare is free, so it's not even like you have to sneak and duck and go behind a tree to talk to someone or to get information. Everything is just very out there and very accessible for young people. For 22 years, I worked in social services, and a large portion of that was working with children and youth. We did a lot of sexual health workshops. Sex education is something that's presented in schools here without any sort of issue. We have a large LGBTQIA community here. The pride parades, everything is just very supportive and very open here. There are BDSM and lifestyle communities here. Like we're not as shy, we'll say.
Mm.
Not as shy
Then
about sex and sexual practices. We have sex expos, like it's just very open. Yeah, it's definitely one place I definitely want to go where I think that sex is just like all kinds of freedom around it is Amsterdam. Their
really,
teen pregnancy rates are very low. Sexually transmitted STIs, their rate of STIs is very low. Infidelities, rape, violence, like all of that is because they have a very open culture when it comes to the promotion, the healthy promotion of sex and healthy sexual practices. I wish that's something that could be adopted across the board, because then people be more aware. I think part of the one of the really bad things is not educating our kids, not educating our children, so they know more than we knew. Do you know the amount of elders that I've talked to who, let's say they have kids, but nobody ever told them, like, if, they'll say, oh, don't let a boy touch you because you'll get pregnant, but they don't actually explain to you what that touching is, so you have people who are walking around thinking like, oh, if he rubs me on my shoulder, I'm going to get pregnant. No, if he uses his penis and rubs his penis against your vagina on the inside and stuff comes out of it, then you're going to get pregnant. It's just these weird conversations that we never have. And we need to start having those conversations with our young people so that they can in turn, break those generational curses and stop the promotion of inaccurate information.
Yes, they do. They really need to stop their promotion of inaccurate information. And also, they got to be careful of who they fucking. And like,
Yes.
if you know that you don't want to have this baby by this person while you going raw, and also why are so many people so okay with taking them Plan B or going to see the hitman? It's like, I understand
Yes.
shit happens, but y'all need to make a habit of it, because that's going to destroy your body long term.
I absolutely agree. Absolutely.
That is crazy. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope y'all are enjoying this talk. So let's get back to your podcast.
Sorry. I'm so jealous of your background. I'm looking at the sun shining, and I know you're sitting outside, and I'm watching you sip on your drink, and I'm so upset right now. I grudge you. I'm envious. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm envious.
Yes, I know. It's like, hey, you gotta enjoy Florida, you know what I'm saying? Because it be cold and be raining, so sometimes when it's not like that,
cold.
I mean,
you see, you gotta come spend a month in Canada during the winter. You would never use that word cold again to describe Florida. I promise you.
You damn right, because all them damn Canadians be coming down here to Florida. I be seeing the Canadian tags. I'm like, oh shit, it done got cold up there in the city.
Oh yeah,
all y'all done came down here and stuff.
Yep, overrun with snowbirds.
Yeah, we stay getting overrun with snowbirds. But I do want to go to Canada, like, you know what I'm saying? I've been to like Niagara Falls, but I want to see Toronto though. I can't lie, you know what I'm saying?
But come in the summertime. Come July or August are the best times to come when the weather's really nice and there's more things to do outside.
Yeah, that's real. That's real. Because I feel like that's with any country, you know what I'm saying? Because it's not as cold. But I don't see how the hell did you do it? Because it's like, I've seen stories about Canada being negative below temperature. I'm like, how the hell? And I didn't think black people could deal with that.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because you would think that coming from a hot country like Jamaica, the choice would have been the South, where it's still warm. But yeah, I don't know. My family migrated all the way north, and sometimes, like, I don't know, there's no equivalent to how cold. It's like sticking your head in the freezer for 10 minutes and feeling your beard frost up and your ears feel like they're getting frostbite. That's what it feels like on a regular in the wintertime here.
And I bet it's impossible to drive, because I'm pretty sure you've seen the stories about people in Atlanta and people down south, like whenever they got snow, they don't want to drive nowhere.
Well, you seen in Virginia, was it last month or a month and a half ago when Virginia got snow and I-95 was closed down for more than 24 hours? Like, people were trapped on the highway because nobody knew they didn't know how to navigate it. It's gotten that bad here. We had 1 year where they called in the army to clear the snow because there was just it was just crazy. Like, no one could go anywhere. People were trapped in their homes. Like, it was nuts. It was nuts.
Wow. Shit, they better work from home.
Yeah. Well, that wasn't, I mean, back then that wasn't a thing. Now people are quite comfortable working from home, so it's not quite as bad.
Yeah, of course it's not that bad. I'm like, everybody comes to work from home. It's like, but here it's like, now everybody's back working office. I'm like, can y'all asses just go back home? Shit. Because now I'm having to sit in all this damn traffic because y'all asses want to, open everything back up.
Yes.
But ladies and gentlemen, this is Liquor Talk. The more you drink, the better we sound. On your last podcast episode, which I was checking out, do you have a problem with communication? Because you're like, do I really got to contact them every day? What's going on there? I need to hear this perspective.
Okay, so I feel like when you're in the talking phase of dating, um, I think that it puts an unfair expectation on the person that they have to reply to you every day. Like you can expect, like, everyone has their different feelings about what they want or what they're looking for in a relationship. But the reality is, when you're just in the talking phase with someone, they could be talking to two or three other people as well, trying to figure out what the best fit is for them. But one of my guests said as well, people have full time jobs. Sometimes people have children, so the expectation that because I have all kinds of freedom in my schedule, because I work for myself, I have the luxury of being able to be on my phone whenever I want. It would be unfair for me to expect, like, say, VJ, if you and I were in the talking phases of getting to know each other and dating, it would be unfair for me to expect that you be on the phone with me for like an hour or two in the middle of the day because you work a 9 to 5. Should I be in my feelings because of that? No. Will I be in my feelings because of that? Yes, but that's because of my own desires. But it's unfair for, in the talking stage, especially, or even at the beginning of dating, that you place that expectation on the person. Once you've established that you and that person are dating or even more exclusive, then you set out what the parameters are, but that needs to be a mutual discussion. I can't just say, well, you're supposed to know that you're supposed to talk to me every day from noon till 2 when you're like, I'm at work from noon till 2. My lunch is only from 12 to 12:30. I need to eat. So what am I supposed to do? Spend a half hour of my lunchtime talking to you instead of eat? Do you know what I mean? So it's just kind of those impractical things. And I've even recently had to check myself about that, with a friend of mine, and saying, like, am I unfair in being upset because he didn't reply to me yesterday and he replied to me the day after? But he's not my man and we're not actually dating. We're still just getting to know one another, right? So as much as I
Yeah,
feel some type of way, it's unfair for me to place that expectation on him because we've never had that conversation. And the truth of the matter is, we're still just getting acquainted. People get lost in their own desires so much so that they want to place their will on another person, and it's unfair, right? If you feel some type of way, the fairest thing to do is have a conversation with that person, but at the same time, you still can't have an expectation. That's not your person. That's not your man, your woman, or your other. You guys are still just getting acquainted.
that's real. That's definitely real. And also another thing you gotta do is you gotta stop expecting you out of people, because I had that same problem as well. Because it's like, I'm somebody. If I say we're gonna meet, goddamn it, I don't give a damn whether it's a rainstorm, snowstorm. I don't give a damn what's going on. We gonna meet, So I'm
Yes.
gonna find a way to make it happen. But you gotta realize not everybody has that same energy. It's like
Sure.
not everybody has that same energy. And also, sometimes I do believe that if people want to, they will. But it does go back to what you. It does go back to what you say. You gotta be a little more understanding. But
Sure.
at the same time, it's like, do you really like me?
But then you have to think too, time wise, like, how long have you been talking to this person? If we've only been talking for 2 or 3 weeks, do I have the right to feel some type of way that they're not able to put forth the same type of energy? Like, they've expressed interest, they give you the time that they have when they have it. They probably, they try to go above and beyond a little bit more than they would normally. But at the same time, like, people have, again, they have lives, and you're not in sync with somebody because you're just acquainted with them. So just slow down, take your time, enjoy the first leg of the journey instead of trying to rush.
Yes. Yes. Do you feel like everybody's just trying to rush because it's just this generation of we want it now?
Absolutely. The generation of instant gratification, and they want to post for social media. I find that, okay, so, and maybe I'm wrong in thinking this way, but I feel like a lot of the reasons why people want to get into relationships nowadays is because they want to have somebody that they can post, or they can say that, you know what I mean? Because it's like, we're the generation of putting everything out there for everybody to see. Right or wrong, good or bad, it's people's personal choices, but people are not taking the amount of time that they need to either get to know the person properly or commit to the effort of getting to know the person. Like, if you decide that, I met you last week and you're the person that I want to be with, make a sincere effort of that, make a sincere go of it. Don't just do it for the show of it. And if you're going to do that, then invest the time that you need to get to know the person. You have people who are going in and out of relationships, in and out of relationship. Then they want to turn around and say that, the dating pool has pee in it and dating is trash, but you're not taking time to actually get to know somebody. If, like with me, like, you have 2 days of work back to back, and you're not able to talk to me, so you shoot me a couple of quick text messages. I'm going to say, fuck it, I don't want to talk to you because now you're not available. You're probably busy with some other girl and da 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 da. Meanwhile, you're working back to back shifts, and when you get home, you're tired, and the only thing you're really thinking about is sleeping. And you know that when you have the time, you'll contact me. People just have unfair and unrealistic expectations, and they want everything now instead of working for it.
Yes, they do. And also, people definitely have the unfair expectations. And I feel like sometimes that it goes back to show how much do you really like this person. Because if you like this person, you're going to be patient with them. You'll be patient
Absolutely.
with them. And I think people get burned out because they're patient with the wrong ones. But the ones they probably need, and they put them on eggshells and they give them hell. And I think that's why we get to a lot of the whole dating pool guy see, because y'all giving the wrong ones time of day, and also you being patient with the wrong one, impatient with the wrong ones.
Absolutely. I completely agree with you.
Yes, and man, also, what do people got to do to get back to art of conversation? Because I'm like, I know that people haven't lost the art of conversation. I'm like, everybody got podcasts and stuff. It's like, come on
See,
now.
but I think there's a difference. You have people who know how to talk versus people who know how to converse. Right?
Mm.
You have people who can, because they're interviewing, they can talk to anybody on the planet, but put them in a one-to-one personal situation, they don't have nothing to say. You know what I mean? Because it's not scripted. Now you actually have to put in effort into allowing somebody to get to know you. And people, like, we're so used to emojis, we're so used to acronyms, we're so used to text messaging, and short form text and that kind of stuff, that people really don't know how to talk to one another. We've become a generation of people who are socially inept because we use our phones to do everything for us. When you're doing a podcast, it's easy enough to talk to somebody because it's scripted. You start, there's a series of questions that you ask, you end, and that's it. You don't have to talk to the person again. You put out your episode and the episode does the talking for you. But if you were to have an actual conversation with that person about who they are, what they like, what they're into, what makes them happy, like, it's difficult to do those things. People's attention spans are really short, I find.
Yeah, they are. They are, and also I can tell that as well. Even with the people I talk to, them, I've had on my podcast, I'm like, I'll be sitting there in my head, I'm saying, okay, I can't really have a conversation with this person ever again, because it's like they're so dull, and they're just like they're
Yeah.
so head set in their ways. You're not. You seem cool as hell, by the way. You know what I'm saying? So, and
Thanks.
you and a number of my other guests I've had on previously, y'all
Yes.
seem cool as hell. But in the early stages, you're just like,
It's hard.
yeah, we be sitting here saying the same thing.
Yeah. I've had a guest. I remember a guest on my podcast, and talking to that person, it was like trying to it was like pulling answers out of them, because it's like you're trying to engage them in dialogue. I ask a question and their answer is like, "Yep, I agree with that." And then it's like, okay, well, why do you agree with that? Oh, because, and they'll give like a very brief, and that's it. And then you move on to, and it was just very like stop, start, stop. Like there was no actual conversation. But then watching her on her phone messaging someone, she'll like type out like a whole,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? And for a lot of people, they've learned to communicate that way. And so when they're put in a situation where they actually have to speak one-on-one with someone and have an actual conversation, they don't know how to do that.
Exactly, and I find that's the problem with this generation a lot. That
Yes.
everybody's doing it, and then even our parents' generation, they be complaining. I'm like, y'all complain, but y'all asses be right there on the phone too.
Yes.
Like, so how can
Yes.
y'all sit there and complain? Like, so what do people need to do to have conversations? Just to ask questions, or just be mindful of the questions they ask?
I think put your phones down. Like, for first and foremost, like we are so used to having our phones with us all the time that, have you ever been in a situation where you're in the same room with someone, or you're sitting across from someone, and while you're talking to them, they'll text you? Has that ever happened?
That's actually
Okay.
happened to me one time, and it was my sister telling me something that she was like, "Hey, don't bring up this in the conversation," because we were sitting around with her man, and it's like she had texted me something random that just made
Right.
me laugh, loosen me up. So it's like,
Right.
because you
But
could
now
tell
think to
I'm just like,
yourself, but think to yourself, had she not had the phone, how would she have communicated that to you? She would have had to pull you quietly to the side and say, hey, don't say such and such. Or she would have had to make some kind of gesture to let you know she's trying to get you. The point is, like, we spend so much, and I'm guilty of it as well. I try, though, when I'm in personal situations with people, I will put my phone down. I will put my phone down, or I'll put my phone away, so that the conversation is between you and I, not you, myself, and the phone and your phone. I think one of the things that people need to start doing when they're having conversation with people is put the phone down and make a concerted effort to pay attention to the person and what that person is saying to you and what that person is communicating to you. You know, it's easy to get distracted because you and I are having this conversation. My phone goes off, and while you're talking to me, when I should be paying attention to what you're saying, I'm doing this. I'm looking over to see what's going on my phone. You know what I mean? That automatically cuts the line of communication because now you're only paying partial attention to what I'm saying. Suppose I'm disclosing something to you about a past trauma. Suppose I'm disclosing something to you that's, you know, like something emotional that's happened to me, something that's really important that I want you to know about me and I want you to understand. Now I'm going to stop talking to you because I feel like you're more important, you're more interested in what's going on in your phone. So for me, one of the primary and key things when you're having conversation with someone, when you're really interested in getting to know the person, put your damn phone away. Whatever is there is not that much of an emergency that it can't wait until you're done.
Exactly. And also one thing that should be a red flag in people's minds, if you're on a date with somebody, they're just on the phone the whole time. I'm like, hello, what the fuck are you doing here? Like, are we gonna talk, or is that phone? Because I've had that happen to me. I said, you know what? Okay, that was nice. Paid the bill. I paid my part of it and left. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, okay, that's a sign to me that you're just not into me. You're just here for the free meal or whatever. And I'm like, nah.
And that's just rude. Like, that type of behavior is just juvenile and it's rude and it's disrespectful. And I don't support that at all. You know, it's like we want people to be invested in us, but we're not taking the time to give them a reason to be invested. You know, it's like you look great on paper, you look great online, and then you meet the person and then they're rude. You know, they're not making the effort to get to know you. They're not showing you that they're actually interested. You know, put your phone away. Like, there's nothing that can't wait. Not everything has to be photographed to be put on social media. Not everything has to be like a video or a selfie to say, hey, look, I'm here. Spend time with the person that you're with and actively engage with that person. Ask them questions, let them ask you questions, you know, find out about them. So there's a thing that I do with people that I'm getting to know. I call it 21 questions. And I create 21 questions, just random questions, things that I want to know about the person, but I give them options, this or that. So it's like, you know, do you prefer cake or pie? Do you like soda or juice? Do you like beaches or the snow? And then based on their answer, it gives us something to talk about. So if you and I are talking and you say to me, you know, if I say beaches or snowy peaks, and you say snowy peaks, I'm like, okay, well, what is it about being in the snow that interests you? Because I myself, I like beaches, you know what I mean? So if we were to go somewhere snowy, what would that look like for you, and what, you know what I mean? So it gives you something to talk about, because I know sometimes dialogue can be a struggle and you're not really sure what to ask a person. And then, you know, coupled with people's shyness and people being reserved and not sure how much to disclose, it gives you a chance to pick a person's brain without being too intrusive, but also gives you an opportunity to learn the person.
Yes, that is great. I'm glad you brought that up, because now I'm about to have to learn you. You know what I'm saying? So I usually do this at the top of the show, but because the conversation was so good, I said we're just gonna ride with it. I'm gonna do a thing called a four question hot seat. I'm just gonna pull from a deck of cards. I got a list of random questions. You know, so be what I usually pull of every suit. So hearts, clubs, diamond, spades. I will warn you, the spade is the sex suit, so you know what I'm saying. So, but you seem like the type that's not gonna. Because the last time I did this, I had somebody plead the fifth, and I'm like, damn. And if y'all listen to this, if she pleads the fifth, y'all gotta take 2 shots, y'all. All right. The first question is, I pulled a 2 of diamonds. First question is, have you ever ghosted somebody, and why?
Have I ever ghosted someone, and why?
Have you ever just said the hell with somebody, you know?
Yes, I did. This was maybe about 10 years ago. And it's because I found out that the person is actually married.
Oh, that's a good reason to go somebody.
Yeah, and I was like, this is not what I signed up for. So that was like block, delete, block. Fortunately, the person didn't know where I lived, so they couldn't like just show up randomly. But yeah, that was a situation that I was not trying to be part of at all.
Hey, I don't blame you. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what it is about married people. They just get the confidence of 1,000. Meanwhile, us single people, we just reserved and chilling. Like we just reserved and we're just chilling for the right opportunity. So
Absolutely. And I didn't feel like I owed him any explanation because he should have not lied. You should have disclosed that you had a wife so I could have decided whether or not you were somebody that I want to engage with or not. Like that should have never been something that forced my hand where you were trying to make a choice for me. That would never end well for anybody. I'm just saying.
exactly. Ooh, it's your lucky that we got the king of spades. We got the king of spades. That question is, what's the longest you've ever gone without sex?
A year and 7 months. It's about a year
How
and
do you
7 months.
how do you do it?
Honestly, it just there came a point in my life where I was just I don't want to say fed up, but I think I was just fed up. Like I just felt like I needed a break from being intimate with anybody. And just tired of the games, tired of the nonsense, tired of the foolishness, tired of feeling like my desires were not being satisfied. And just tired of feeling like, I was just on this constant merry-go-round. And so I decided to get off. That was it.
That's real. That's
Yeah.
real.
I took a
That's
hiatus.
understood. That's understood.
Yeah, about a year and 7 months.
Yeah. So how did you follow up to that? Did you have like a toy or rose toy? Because I see everybody's just obsessed with them now. I'm like,
Oh no. Well, this was years before the rose was this was years ago, before the rose was ever created. But honestly, like I didn't even masturbate. I did nothing. Like I focused on other things. I focused on at the time raising my son and doing community work and my job, and the different creative arts avenues that I was part of, and that was it. That's what consumed my time. But even just like self pleasure just wasn't even something that crossed my mind too much. Like if I needed to every now and again I would, but it wasn't like, let me break up my vibrator every night because I don't have a man and I feel hard up. It was never like that. I think because I was just so focused on other things, it just wasn't that important.
wow, that's good. Hey, y'all, talk my people out there that's going through a drought. Focus on other things. You heard it right here, y'all. Focus on other
Absolutely.
things,
Yeah.
and then the drought won't be so bad to where you're having to watch porn every night. You know what I'm saying?
The
Because
funny
that
thing
shit.
is, sorry
Yeah,
to cut you off, but the funny thing is, like, there's no shortage of sex out there for anybody. I just don't feel like that's a thing. Sex isn't something that's ever going to go anywhere because there's people. As long as there's people, sex will always be available. If it's a personal choice that you're waiting for a particular type of person to come along, or you're doing some spiritual soul searching, honestly the best thing for you to do is make sure that your time is effectively occupied with things for you to do. And it's not to say that you have to have like a regimented schedule or a particular type of routine, but just don't give yourself enough time to sit and lament about the fact that you're not having sex. And sex is always going to be around you. Like it's all across social media. It's in the movies, it's on the radio, it's in the podcast, like it's everywhere. So it's not like it's something that you can escape. But if you give yourself a particular type of focus and you immerse yourself in other things that are pleasurable to you, it becomes easier. It really does.
that's real. That's real. All right, I got the next. You're two down, two to go. Got another question for you. Got the eight of hearts. This question says, so, what do you find attractive in a man?
Physically,
Physically, mentally, whatever. What attracts you to a man?
I love intelligent men, but I also like men who have a good balance of um, being a little bit street. It's a yachty thing because I'm Jamaican. Like we like when they're a little bit rougher on the edge. But I definitely like a man who knows how to use his words and a man who is intelligent. I have a thing about hands. I like really nice hands, like the physical things. and a nice smile and nice teeth. A great beard is definitely a plus, Mr. BJ. Um,
Thank you, thank you.
and I like a man who is, has the ease of conversation. Like we can talk about a number of different things. So we can talk about stocks, in one conversation, and then talk about, riding motorcycles in another, or, that kind of thing, with that kind of balance.
That's real. That's great. All right, the last question is the two of clubs. What's one state you say? Well, going back to the United States, what's one state you say you will never visit again? Like, what's one place you'll never visit again?
One place that I will never visit again. Oh, Louisville, Kentucky.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why? What's wrong with Louisville?
There's a man that I dated years ago that lived in Louisville, and he was just trash. He was absolute trash.
Oh, because of you won't stop visiting a city because of a man.
Absolutely. There's nothing of interest. There's nothing of interest in Louisville, Kentucky. I promise you.
Well, I feel you on that. Now, I guess the only reason I asked is because I did a podcast with some black ladies that were in Louisville, Kentucky. I think
really.
Yeah,
okay. I think I take it back. I'm willing to rethink it. I'm willing to rethink it based on that. I support black women.
Yes. I think it was about somewhere in the 160s and 170s. I can't remember. I know they were telling me they were from Louisville, Kentucky. They were going hard for the Breonna Taylor movement.
Yes.
So.
Yes. Like I said, I can be swayed. But if it was up to me based on that, yeah, I wouldn't. Louisville's not at the top of my list of places.
Yeah, I feel you on that. I feel you. So congratulations, you made it through without having to plead the fifth. You're the real MVP. So now we don't. I can either wait till you have me on your podcast. We can just do this now. I'll let you take a couple shots at me.
Okay. Do you have a particular kink or fetish?
Believe it or not, I don't. All because it's like I've just gone through it just to, go through the motions, you know what I'm saying? Let's just get this thing on, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes you're just so excited to have it, you don't even think about your own, you don't explore your own kinks or whatever.
Right. Okay. Do you believe in having conversation, either during or after you've had intimacies with someone to find out how you've done? Are you a person that receives constructive feedback well, or would you just kind of rather go with what you know?
Honestly, it all depends on whether or not you like the person or not, honestly, at the end of the day. Because it's like, you might take the feedback and guess what, you're going to apply it to another woman. Or you're going to make it personal and be like, tell me what you need and tell me what you need and stuff. Because I'm always open to feedback and stuff. So.
Yes. Okay. Let's do fuck, marry, kill.
Oh, okay. All right.
Fuck, marry, kill. Jill Scott, Mary J. Blige, Sanaa Lathan.
Oh, let's see. We're going to kill Sanaa. Actually, no. We're going to kill Mary. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
I'm sorry, Mary. We'll fuck Sanaa, and we'll probably marry Jill. Listen. That concert, listen, there's that concert, she showed up, I'm like, oh, shit. I need that every night. I'm like, oh, shit.
She's absolutely fabulous.
Yes, I know. I saw that. I was like, what? I'm like, bro, what motherfucker done did her wrong? Shit. Right? I'm like, a woman doing that? Man, come on now.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Liquor Talk. The more you drink, the better we sound. I brought up another thing. I was checking the news. I saw a story where a man and a woman agreed to have a baby, but just as platonic friends. Like, who does that? Like, why would you want to have a baby with somebody but agree that y'all are just going to be strictly platonic friends? How does that even happen?
As crazy as it sounds, I feel like it was a really responsible way of going about having a family. Because if I weigh that against people like Nick Cannon, who are out there breeding women left, right, and center and dropping twins in people like nobody's business. His thought process was, well, I really like her. I think that she would be a great mother. So yes, I'm going to go ahead and give her babies or give her a baby. Right. So if I have to weigh, the couple who said, you know what, we're best friends, we're not lovers, we both want to have a child, neither one of us are married, but we want to have a child that we can raise together and co-parent, that to me is far more responsible than him deciding to run around in the streets and drop semen in 5 or 6 different women and not parent any of those kids.
Yeah, when you put it like that, that definitely makes sense. It's like to come together with somebody, But it's like I don't know if I could just fuck my best friend and be
For
like,
sure.
hey, let's have a kid together. It's like
Right.
because I had that offer way back in college, and I was like, nah. But at the time, I wasn't ready for a kid though.
Right.
So
But if your best friend was to put that conversation to you now that you're more experienced and you're a little bit older, is it something you would consider?
it's something I would maybe consider. Because that's like I'm still not 100% sure on it because it's like the cost of everything is going up. It's like my
True.
goodness.
Very
Now,
true.
if money
But if you
wasn't a
could afford
thing,
it, right? If money was not a thing,
if money was the thing, I would definitely think about it. You know what
yeah,
I'm saying? Because you don't want to have the baby with the wrong one because the wrong
true.
one, they're gonna do everything for you. They might go Brittany Renner on your ass,
Right.
meaning they'll try to clean you out and
Yes.
keep the child from you.
Yes. But I think that's why you have a contractual agreement. And that's one of the reasons why, like, I would be more in support of that, because that's actually something that people are taking the time to actually sit down and have conversation about. It wasn't like, they had sex, she got pregnant, and they're like, okay, well, let's co-parent. There was a conversation about it first, And I know that people say, well, it feels very clinical and very sterile. Honestly, if the lesser of evils is him having a baby with somebody that he's not going to parent the child with, or they're going to have like a rough and ugly relationship where they can't co-parent, I would rather that scenario where they've sat down and had a conversation, drafted an agreement, have decided on XYZ versus the alternative. Like you said, a lot of people are having babies with people that they don't necessarily want to have a child with, but now they're trapped in this situation where they're fighting to co-parent with somebody who doesn't want to co-parent with them. I feel like that
Yeah.
other situation is definitely the better option.
It is the better option now that you sit down and have a conversation about it. It is the better option because it's something we never heard of. It's because we're
Right.
so used to the toxic shit, meaning people would just rather be out here fucking and then just randomly make a baby, you know what I'm saying, rather than having people who are friends come
Yes.
together and just be like, hey, let's just co-parent this baby. So
Because you know what? I think too, it's like not everybody wants to get married. And I think that we live in a society where people are not wanting to accept that. I think we live in a society now where people are trying to hold on to the old ways of thinking that you have to get married in order to have a family. I can say, like, for myself, I have 2 adult children. My son is 27, my daughter's 24. And their father and we haven't been together for 20 years, but we have the best co-parenting relationship ever. We have successfully raised our young adults because we had to have a conversation about what was important, and what was important was raising our kids. It wasn't about the fact that we were no longer together. It wasn't about the fact that, we have both decided to move on, or the bitterness and all that kind of stuff. The point at which you break up, the important thing and the only thing that's important is raising your kids in the best way possible. I feel like it's a responsible step for people to say beforehand, we're not going to be together. We're definitely not getting married. We both want to have children. We both have a great friendship. We both have a great relationship. We're both responsible adults. We're both financially responsible. How about we have a child together? That way we both are getting our needs met, but in the most responsible way possible. It's okay. A lot of times you have people that, like you said, that have children with somebody that they turn around one day and they realize they don't like the person and they regret having a child with the person. I
yeah.
don't know. Like, I feel like it's the lesser of evils. Sorry, I know you got stuff going on in your background.
No, listen. All my mom outside right now, they don't know I'm recording. You know what I'm saying? They good.
That's okay.
So it's like, but I totally agree with you. It's now that I think about it, it is the lesser of the evils because I guarantee you, there's a lot of women. If they could go back in time to turn around and make the decision about who their child's father is, it would
Absolutely.
definitely be somebody they would want to be friends with. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
instead of somebody they just messed around with and they find out that this person is just a bum, you know. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and it's like, you know, people they just gotta do their homework at the end of the day. They just
Absolutely.
gotta do better with doing homework, you know.
Absolutely.
And by the way, you are really beautiful. I would have never guessed you had 2 adult kids.
Thank you. I do. Yeah. Sorry. Thanks.
It's all good, you know. So I know that I
That
never would
always
have guessed
throws
that.
it
That's just
throws
a
people.
sign.
Yeah.
Uh,
No, I said that always throws people. It throws people when like if I reference that for whatever the reason is, like it's always that stop, like, you have adult children? Like what? So yeah.
yeah, but hey, that's a sign that black don't crack.
Black don't crack. See?
Now, exactly. Now, this being International Women's Month, so
Yes.
what is the message you want to tell to all your fellow black women out there?
Celebrate your blackness, black woman. Celebrate your strength. Celebrate your beauty wherever you are in your life at this moment. Appreciate the graciousness of your life. Appreciate the greatness of your life. Appreciate the abundance of your life. You know, you may not be the size that you want to be. You may not be the weight that you want to be. You may not look a particular type of way, but trust and believe whoever you are, however you are standing in this moment, you are God's gift and you are beautiful. Period.
Yes, yes, y'all are. I definitely agree with all that. It's like, and it's another reason I still have hope. I still have hope that I'll come across a beautiful black woman. You know what I'm saying?
You
So
will.
it's still a reason I got hope. So what's the plans for the podcast for 2022?
Um, Doing more traveling and interviewing people from many more walks of life. I want to, interview a few professionals, but just kind of branching out, and just expanding the circle of professionals that I am in contact with, and just having a lot more fun conversations with people. There are a lot of podcasters that I've interviewed that people know them from podcasting, but don't know them personally. So I want to do some focus on, not exposing, but giving people an opportunity to learn about their podcasters intimately. So that's part of the focus
Mm.
this
Hey, listen, you got somebody in Florida that's down for it. You know what I'm saying?
year.
I used to tell everybody I might be in Florida, but I'm only a DM away. So hey, whenever you're
Okay.
ready to have me on and make that happen, you just let me
Absolutely.
know because I'd be down to come on that one for you.
I ask a
And
lot of
last,
questions just to put that out there. And there's no
bring them
pleading the
on. You
fifth.
know.
Okay. All right. As long as you're good.
Yes, I'm like, bring them on. You know what I'm saying? I don't ever plead the fifth. You know what I'm
All
saying? I'm straight up.
right.
I'll tell you what you want to know. Lastly, to get you out of here on this,
Yes.
why do you got a dope platform? I done checked out a whole bunch of episodes. I
Hey.
liked it. I said this is gonna be a great conversation.
Hey.
Why do people need to subscribe to the Pum Pum Chronicles
See, you said
podcast?
it right. Yay.
I'm a quick learner, damn it. I'm a quick learner.
Love it. I love it. So the podcast is on all streaming platforms where podcasts can be found. The Pum Pum Chronicles, that's PUMPUM. If you want to follow me on Instagram, it's the Pum Pum Chronicles pod, and also the same for Twitter, the Pum Pum Chronicles. I have weekly episodes that drop. I think there are 107 episodes to date that you can check out, all different types of guests. We also have a segment where people write in to ask my personal opinion or advice about a manner of different things. I'm 50. I've had a lot of life experience, and so people kind of want to pick my brain. So there are a lot of questions. There may be questions that you've thought about asking that you may be shy. You may find an answer on one of the episodes, but definitely check me out.
Definitely will. Definitely will. Wow. You're as old as my mother. You know what
That's
I'm saying? No offense.
crazy. What?
Yes.
Tell your mama I said,
Yeah.
hey.
Yeah, I'll definitely tell you, say hey, you know what I'm saying, But I want to thank you for joining me, you know what I'm
My
saying? I
pleasure.
appreciate this time, I appreciate the vibe. This was a dope conversation, definitely
Thank
eye
you.
opening. I look forward to doing this on your podcast. Like
Yes.
I tell everybody, I might be in Florida, but I'm just one DM away. So whenever you're ready to make that happen, we gotta make it happen. If we gotta come back
Absolutely.
on Look and Talk again, if we gotta do that again, we will, you know what I'm saying? So
Yes.
I'm down for it. I'm open to it. So I hope we get the pod again.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. It's been a pleasure.
No problem. And thank you to listeners out there for listening to Look and Talk. You can check out Look and Talk everywhere, wherever you get your podcast at, iHeartRadio, Spotify, wherever, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. Go ahead and rate us We're also on YouTube as well doing this video thing. Ladies and gentlemen, remember, keep pushing. The more you drink, the better we sound. Always keep pushing no matter what. We're going to get through this thing. Until next time, remember, this is that podcast that's taking over for the 22 and the 23. It's Liquor Talk. Until next time, we out this thing. Deuces, y'all. Deuces.